and there seemed to be no possible solution for the conflict, we gathered at the Brussels conferences to keep the hope alive. One of the first conferences was opened by the words of Farah. There's a beautiful video on YouTube about her, a 6-year-old Syrian girl living in Zaatari refugee camp in Jordan. And thanks to our collective support, she could go to school, she could learn for a better future. And today, Farah is a grown-up girl. She wants to become a journalist in her native Syria. But for the first time ever, since we have these conferences, her wish is not just a dream, it is a real possibility. Because Syria is a new country. And today the dreams and the aspirations of the Syrian people are no longer on hold. For the first time in decades, Syria's hope can become reality. Of course, the path to reconciliation and recovery is still long. On the one hand, we see very encouraging steps. The agreement between the central authorities and the Kurdish SDF, for instance, is nothing short but historic. Also important is the signing of a constitutional declaration by Interim President al-Shara. On the other hand, the attacks on security forces and the violence against civilians in Syria's coastal region show that the situation remains fragile. Once again, we have seen Syrian mothers weeping for their lost children and old wounds reopen. But we also see the Syrian authorities' commitment to bring the perpetrators to justice, to protect minorities, and to form an inclusive government. All of this is vital for reconciliation. From our side, we must do everything in our power to support these goals and to support a successful transition. And this is the reason why we are all gathered here today. We want the Syrian people to know that we will be with them every step of their way. And this is why it is so important that for the first time we're joined by Minister Al-Shaibani. A very warm welcome. In the past, we have always worked for Syria and for Syrians. But today, we can finally work with Syria. And this gives a new meaning to the Brussels conference. So we would like to hear from you about the needs of your people and your plans for rebuilding state institutions. For every new step you take towards an inclusive political transition, we are ready to move forward together with you. Europe is ready to do its part, and this is what I would like to focus on. My first point. Since the start of the conflict, we have provided over 37 billion euros in support of Syria. Now that Assad has fallen, this support is even more important. According to the UNHCR, 1.5 million Syrians might return to their country already this year, and 2 more million people who are currently displaced within Syria could potentially return to their homes. Today we are working with the host countries and the UN agencies to support them along the way. So basic services must be restored. Electricity is only available for a few hours per day. There's not enough drinking water. Syrian children must be able to go back to school. All this, and you know, much, much more is necessary and vital to rebuild a normal and a dignified life. Syrians need greater support, whether they are still abroad or they decide to go home. And this is why today the European Union is increasing its pledge for Syrians in the country and in the region to almost 2.5 billion euro for 2025 and 2026. And we call on all of you who are here today to do the same if possible. Because at this critical time, the people of Syria need us more than ever. But as we tackle the immediate needs of Syrians, we must also start looking to the future of the country. And this is my second point. There are entire cities to be rebuilt and a whole economy to restart. And this is why we have suspended our sanctions on key economic sectors. This includes energy, transport, and the financial transactions that are linked to them. And we are ready to do more to attract the necessary investments for reconstruction as the political transition advances towards a credible, an inclusive and non-sectarian government. As long as progress continues, we are also willing to scale up our support for recovery and reconstruction together with our partners in the region and across the world. Syria used to be one of the economic powerhouses of the Middle East, and we want to be partner for recovery and growth of a new Syria. In the old Syria, a dictator controlled all political and economic power. But in the new Syria, power can go back to where it belongs, and that is to the people of Syria. And this is the third issue where we can be of help. Here at the Brussels conferences, we have already hosted Syria's civil society representatives, both from inside the country and in exile. Some of them were banned by the Assad regime because of their ideas. But now they can finally be heard. So I am proud to announce that this year we are planning to hold the civil society dialogue of the Brussels conference in Damascus, because all Syrians deserve to take their future into their hands. Syria can become a country where everybody can speak their mind, with equal rights and representation for all, men and women alike, beyond faith, ethnicity and ideology, a country with no place for sectarian violence. The future of Syria is for all Syrians to build. Those who always fought for freedom and those who just discovered hope, those who fled and those who stayed. This must be the promise of the new Syria, and we will do everything that is possible so that this can be fulfilled. Thank you very much for your attention. It's wonderful to greet you here today in Brussels.